has microphones or things they'd like to place up here near the microphone to get more better sound, please do. Okay, thank you for coming. My name is Gary Abbott.
That's for me.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm confused. I'm here with USA Wrestling. Rulon Gardner, our 2000 Olympic champion, bronze medalist in 2004, agreed to meet with the media today. And so on behalf of Rulon, we've set up this opportunity. He'd like to say a small statement or talk a little bit before he takes any questions. We're not going to be here a super long time. Rulon would rather, if he's going to have more in-depth conversations, do it at a later date, you know, individually with different journalists and things of that sort. He's also requested that National Coach Steve Frazier join us to be available to talk a little bit about his training journey and the things that brought him to, you know, come to the Olympic trials to pursue another Olympic dream.
Yep.
So, that said, I'd like to introduce Rulon Gardner and just ask him to let you know his thoughts about what went on with his quest to come here and wrestle at the Olympic trials. Rulon?
Well, thank you everybody for coming. Isn't quite the circumstances I wanted to be here under, but my journey pretty well I think started 2 years ago when I tried out for The Biggest Loser and I got on the TV show, and that's where my competitive fire kind of started reigniting itself. And as I left the show last year, I realized that I had more inside of me than just losing the weight and being on The Biggest Loser and trying to win the money of the TV show. But for me, it ultimately came back, and the reason I got on the show and the reason I got back into wrestling was to get my health back. And that was probably one of the most important things, because for me, I felt that I was probably the healthiest when I was back wrestling, back, you know, even though 264 is a smaller weight class, but back when I was wrestling, that's when I was the healthiest, the happiest. It's when I had a lot of positive in my life. And for me, it isn't just about, you know, being a wrestler. It's about going out and, I think, being a healthier person. And that's the journey I've been on the last few years. And I'm pleased to tell you today that I'm healthy again. And I know yesterday was a tough day for me. When I was younger, I maybe have pushed myself. I got to a point yesterday where I realized it probably wasn't advantageous to continue pushing myself. At the end of the day, I was within 5 pounds of making the Olympic 264.5 pound weigh-in number. And being within 5 pounds, I felt a little bit disappointed, but my body got to a point where it told me it's time that you stop pushing yourself. And 8 years ago, I was on the exact same path as I was this trip, but I think the 8 years removed and not being, you know, weighed in numerous times like I had in the past, I think that affected my body, and ultimately, you know, my body told me that it wasn't right yesterday, and at that point I decided to stop. And for me, you know, I could have hurt myself, but it isn't about making the Olympic team. That was only a byproduct, and that's part of me getting healthy. And just being here and being on the stage and being part of USA Wrestling, being part of this great organization, having the chance to train for the Olympic team has been something that's truly special. And I think my age hopefully has made me wiser and smarter, and in my choices from here to the future, I want to make better choices. And I think this is the reason that I put the last 2 years of my life on hold, to be able to compete here and to succeed and reach my goal, and that's to be healthy. And I have my health back, and that's what mattered.
First question.
Do you want us to introduce ourselves?
Yeah, I'd like to know who you are.
Well, Meredith from the Associated Press. You had said that you know, that you were close and that your body was telling you that you needed to stop and that you could have hurt yourself. Did anything happen yesterday, more specifically, that told you, hey, I gotta stop this?
Well, in the morning time, you know, and I've been pushing pretty hard the last few days, like any wrestler does. But in the morning time, I'd push myself for about a hard hour, and I still had 6 about 6.5 hours before weigh-ins. And at that point, I just started feeling, uncomfortable. I didn't really feel good about it. And I really started kind of not feeling good. So at that point, I said, hey, we got to slow it down. And then, my body just, I think, was to the point of just saying, hey, it's time. And I remember sitting there thinking, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And, I didn't come here to prove that I'm still Olympic gold medalist. I came here to prove that I still had, I think, hopefully the heart of a champion.
Rulon, Mike said win. Do you not regret or wish this story had not become so public about you trying to come back?
No. This isn't, I'm kind of the biggest loser for a reason, because I was foolish with my health. And, I think America, we need to start realizing we're accountable. And for me, I feel a little setback that I didn't make the team, that I didn't come back and win a medal this year, but that's not my biggest goal. My biggest goal was realizing I was 474 pounds. Yesterday I was 269.5 pounds. That's what my journey was. That's over 200 pounds I lost. And at the end of the day, Coach Frazier and everybody in that wrestling room, they knew I was bigger than a lot of the guys, and I hadn't trained my body at 265 pounds. But I still have, I'm 40 years old, and I still got a lot in my heart, and I still think I have the ability to compete with anybody in the world. And I wanted to prove it here at the Olympic trials, but to a certain point, I think, being realistic is more important than being, optimistic.
Sir. Rulon, Scott Light with NBC out of Phoenix. What do you want your role with USA Wrestling to be going forward after today?
Hopefully Coach Frazier can utilize me in helping these guys, and that was part of the reason I wanted to come back and be part of this experience, because this sport gave me and so many other people here in Iowa City and Iowa, in America, a passion to live. And so for me, however I can help buyers. I called them yesterday after I decided not, I still had 6 hours to try to make it, but it didn't make sense at that point. And, I called buyers up and I wished them the best of luck. And he told me 8 years ago when I retired, he said, Rulon, I wish you didn't retire. He said, nobody pushes me. Nobody challenges me. And I told him back then, nobody should have to challenge you. You should challenge yourself. And hopefully this year, the idea of me coming back is going to get him a position where he can win a medal here at the Olympic Games.
You want to Molly on something with Daily Ireland? You talked about getting your physical health back. Do you feel mentally or emotionally healthier now than you did before?
I hope so. You never really know what's in the mind of a wrestler, but for me, a 40-year-old man still wrestling with sweaty men. It's something a little bit weird. So, for me, yeah, my mind and my everything else. I think when I retired 8 years ago, I retired like, yay, it's a party. Life is, I didn't take the responsibility, and now, I have my wife, and we have the responsibility of coming out here and being committed and focusing on the future, and that's my future. And I want to be part of wrestling. I didn't quite finish the first answer. I want to be part of wrestling. I want to help, Coach Frazier and the national team, all these guys making it. And for the last 8 years, Frazier's like, you should be wrestling. These guys just don't have the toughness. And that's that was my. I didn't have a lot of physical ability. I didn't have a lot of mental. I didn't have a lot of the stuff these great wrestlers did. But I outworked everybody. And in that wrestling room, if somebody's not going to work hard, they shouldn't be there. And hopefully we can bring that mystique back to Greco-Roman wrestling. We're still building that history in America. This is the biggest part of why we have great Greco-Roman wrestling in America. And I think the world should see that that's what this sport's about. It's not just about one wrestler winning a medal. It's about the people involved in the sport of Greco-Roman loving the sport for what it truly is.
Mark Kislow with the Denver Post. Did this comeback help you find the responsibility to discover that life can't be a party at 40, or was it something else that made you decide that or realize that?
There's probably been a few monumental changes in my life. The night I got frostbite, I survived. And 6 o'clock in the morning, I saw the sun come up, and it was heaven. And every day was a party. Every day was like live life to the fullest. And I wrestled and trained that way up to 2004. And after I got done wrestling, I'm like, okay, live it up, you know, and stop training. And that's when the weight started coming on, and before it was controlled because of the you know, the workouts and all the hard training. And then after that, it was still enjoy great food and not work out. And, you know, instead of working out, I ate, you know, so that extra time. And, you know, now my beautiful wife, Cammie's over here, and, you know, she's here. She's, you know, she's helped me, and she was there to support me getting on The Biggest Loser. Last, you know, 2 years, she said, Rulon, you know, do what you want to do. If you love the sport, go for it.
Do you need wrestling to be healthy?
I think it's, you know, I kind of separated myself from wrestling in 2004, and for me, yeah, I want to be back, and I want to be back for the training camp this summer to help buyers get ready. I think wrestling is part of my ingrown DNA now, and I need it to be part of my life, because without it, I think I've lost some of the purpose of my life.
Rulon, Mark Bader from Flow Wrestling. You said your motivation this time was more to be healthy than to make the Olympics. Like, when you're in the room and you're training, are you picturing the Olympics? Are you thinking about getting healthy? Were you?
My goal was getting on that scale. You know, people are like, oh, you know, you make weight, you're going to win the Olympics, you're going to do this. You know, my goal in 2000, 2004 was just to make the team. So that was my same focus now, is making the team. I know if I made weight, that would be taken care of. I know that if I walked on the mat and made it through the mini tournament, I'd be okay. I know that if I walked out against buyers, I thought it would be okay, because I still think today I could beat them. And that's, you know, if you're not an Olympic champion, you don't have that confidence in yourself, and you gotta throw it out there. And if you don't have the guts to throw it out there, you're never going to step up, and you're never going to be a champion.
Coach Frazier, I mean, to verify about his training, you were asking about what he did in the room. Just your thoughts about what you saw.
Well, first, just let me say that we're all very, very proud of Rulon Gardner. He's our most decorated Greco-Roman wrestler ever in our history. He won more, you know, as you know what his record is as far as his gold medals and his bronze medal and so forth. So we're very proud of him. I was very excited that he was going to make this run at the Olympics. I didn't know if he could do it or not. He was big, as we all know, when he first started this journey back. And let me tell you, this guy trained harder than any guy on our team. He put in more hours, additional hours. We practice usually twice a day. I know Rulon practiced usually 3 times and sometimes 4 times a day to try to prepare for this moment and the London moment. So he worked very hard for the last, I think you moved when, October? He moved to Colorado Springs Olympic Training Center in October and started training full time with us at that point. And from that point on, he trained like a madman.
Tim Warsicky from the Cleveland Plain Dealer. When you stepped on the mat for the first time at the beginning of your comeback, how much did you weigh? And also, any regrets about anything you've done or anything that's happened since then?
Well, I started pretty well. You know, I left the show last year, and I started off, and, you know, as I came home, I went and wrestled Justin Ruiz, and he's 220 pounds, and he physically was stronger than me at that point. And I'm like, whoa, you know, you're so weak, you need to condition your body, because on The Biggest Loser, I had lost a lot of muscle. And so for me, I decided to start lifting, and that's when, you know, I got bigger and stronger. Then I got, of course, more heavier than I really wanted to be. And then probably the one regret, you know, that I had is probably this last summer not being as accountable to my nutrition, because after The Biggest Loser, I said, you know what, I'm just going to come back and I'm going to train hard. I'm going to start lifting. I'm going to start, you know, working hard. And I never stopped exercising the whole program. But the last few months, you know, it came down to me, you know, making better choices. And I've had so much support from the coaching staff, from, you know, Sunkist kids, you know, Art Martori, you know, believing in me to say, we got your back. No matter what happens, Rulon, you know, you have changed your life, and this is a very positive thing for yourself, and then, you know, for what we believe in, and we care about the wrestling family, and that was great to have, is the support that they gave me every day. You know, Frazier, if I had a question, if I had a problem, you know, and he's like, Rulon, just, you know, let me know what I can do, get out of your way, because you still have the twinkle in your eye, and you still have an animal inside you that isn't done singing. And so for me, that was great to have that confidence from so many great coaches.
Rulon, if this tournament, this would have been in June like it normally would have helped you?
Oh, I thought about that yesterday a lot. Damn it, you know, Frazier, can you take care of me? You know what? You know, the date was there in April a year ago. So I saw the date a year ago, and I thought, you know, and honestly, you know, 2004, this is exactly where I was at. You know, my body was used to training and was used to, you know, working like this. You know, everybody, all the heavyweights were pretty well the same. You know, 2 months ago I was a little bigger than the rest of the heavyweights, yes. You know, but then this last 3 weeks, this is where I've been in the past, and 8 years ago it wasn't a problem for me to get down to weight, but I think that's probably the 8 years that have gone by and my body not being in the wrestling shape. Wrestling shape, you know, Frazier can tell you, my lungs are pretty good. You know, I never really get tired when I'm out wrestling now, but the difference is my body, I think, down to the muscle, because I was looking and yesterday, you know, checking my body, my legs had shrunk, you know, a lot of the muscle, you know, that I had is working itself, but it just wasn't in tune where it was 8 years ago.
Rulon, Brian Vikalskis, Hawkeye Insider Magazine. What's it been like to gain a new legion of fans off the show outside the wrestling world from your appearance on The Biggest Loser?
Well, there's some that like me and some that don't. So, you know, some people, you know, people call me quitters, and you know that hurt. You know, for me, it's not about victory. You know, I didn't look at the Olympics when I started this about winning medals. I looked about personal evolution. You know, I grew up, I had a brother who beat me all the way until my senior year in high school. You know, I went to Nebraska, I never won an NCAA championship. I didn't think about gold medals as being success. For me, success was improving myself one day at a time and master my potential. That's what I truly considered as. And so this comeback, you know, at the end of the day, even if I'd had another gold medal around my neck, it wouldn't be more impressive to me than 2 years ago where I started to where I'm at today. You know, this weigh-in yesterday was probably one of the biggest weigh-ins of my life, because it truly was a starting place and finishing place. And I feel that there's still somewhat failure because I didn't make weight yesterday, but then ultimately now I have to prove myself every day. And I think that's kind of bringing accountability to my life. And people say, well, on The Biggest Loser, why did you do that to yourself? Because you know what, I can lie to myself just like anybody else. And it's time that I take some responsibility for all the support I've had. And it's a shame that I forgot sometimes how much support and how many people truly care about me.
A couple more questions, sir.
I'm Rick Ruggles with the Omaha World Herald. You said you weren't accountable to your nutrition last summer, and you had already planned to make a comeback. So how are you going to be accountable to your nutrition in the future?
Well, this last year, you know, as I came home, you know, I'm like, okay, lift, get strong, get big, get healthy. You know, you gotta get the strength back, because wrestling these 200-pound guys, I couldn't even hold up to them. So for me, you know, it became more about strength. And you know, being on The Biggest Loser got me to think of things differently. 280 pounds doesn't really do me any good unless I'm an Olympic wrestler. You know, after this, I should be a leaner 260, 250 pounds, but not have all the muscle mass, because, you know, skydiving and rock climbing, muscle mass doesn't do you any good, you know. Wrestling, it does. And so for me, trimming that body down and exercising. I love to box, I love to run, I love to, you know, do those healthy things. The body may not be able to withstand the torture of wrestling 300-pound guys every day, but, you know, if this is it for me in wrestling, I shouldn't have to. My body doesn't have to be this huge, massive being. My sister's a cardiologist, and she said, Rulon, 2 years ago, you'll be dead within 5 years if you don't change your life. And sleep apnea, high blood pressure, you know, all those things, congestive heart failure. You know, my sister was honest. She said, you're going to die. And that's an eye-opener. Even though you're 39 years old, toughest guy in America, it doesn't matter, you're still going to die.
Rulon, do you feel like you're I'm sorry, actually.
The guy behind you.
Do you feel like you're
Please. Sir.
Wayne Drace at ESPN. I'm just curious, yesterday when your body was telling you that was enough, what were your emotions like? What were sort of running through your head as your body's telling you that?
Dream or reality? And if you don't have reality, you can't reach your dream. And, you know, as I was sitting there contemplating what I was going to do I rehydrate myself and get fluid back into me, or do I keep pushing it? It was a choice. And at the end of the day, it doesn't do me any good to walk out of there dead or to be carried out of there. For the end of the day, this is about being healthy. And no Olympic gold medal is going to make me any healthier.
Mike, last
Anyway,
question.
Rulon, this is a sport where you're win or lose. You feel like you're a winner, in fact, you came so close.
You have probably the public opinion of it, and you know, the feel good, and you look where you've come from, and then you have the actual reality of it. If you're looking at medals and making the team, I failed. But if you're looking at being a better, healthier, complete person, and each person has to put a value of each, and you know, a lot of these guys, they'll do anything to win that medal. And for me, it was never really about the medal. So I think at the end of the day, it was about, did I obtain and did I reach my goal? That's what truly mattered to me, is that I was back. You know, when I left, I left the Biggest Loser, I felt that it was so much weaker because my body wasn't where it was at. And now, you know, I truly feel like, you know, you have a reset button. My life reset, 8 years removed. You know, I'm 40 years old now, and you know, thank God I have so many great friends, and this great sport has helped me out. And this isn't about me this weekend. It's about those guys we're sending to London, and I hope we put the best team out there and we go kick the Russians' butt. And you know, America has too many great wrestlers, and I think, you know, the great support that every one of you are bringing here today, you know, lets everybody know, you know, this isn't about me. This is, you know, if this is Byers' turn this year at heavyweight, it's time to let him go. If it's freestyle, it's women. You know what? Wrestling, especially being here in Iowa, it's special for us to be here. And even though I'm not wrestling, you got to give these people and these wrestlers the support that they deserve, because they have put their lives on hold just to follow that dream to represent America at the Olympic Games.
One last question. Anyone got one?
Reed Fordray with FoxSports.com. I'm curious, what do you hope people gain as the lesson from your story?
No matter if you fail or you succeed, you know, do you learn in life, and do you make better choices through your past experiences?
Excellent. Well, we really appreciate everyone coming here. We all have a finals to cover in a short period. You know, Rulon, USA Wrestling will take your requests for interviews with him. He said he'd like to talk to people more on a, you know, more independent, one-on-one basis over the next course of the summer, really, right? I mean, we want to all get back to getting our Olympic team selected tonight, and we really appreciate you being here. And Rulon, you're not going to go out and hide. You'll be available to talk to people as you move forward in your life, right?
Tonight, maybe I'll hide a little bit. You never know.
I
so,
mean, you know, certainly. You had indicated you do talk to people later on and everything.
NBC, you know, they asked me to go on. I'm going to help do some of the broadcasting tonight with, you know, Byers' match, and you know, I had the chance to go in 2008 to you know, Beijing, and hopefully this year I can be part of that. You know, the process of getting the national team ready, and I'll be around, and you know, just let Gary know, and thank you for just being here to support this, and you know, thank you. The wrestling movement, you know, needs fans, and you know, we appreciate it. And this great sport, you know, needs every one of our support, because, as you know, Dan Gable's on the outside of this building. This is, you know, kind of his house, and you pay homage when you come in, and when you have the opportunity to be around influential people in all of our lives, but especially a wrestler's life, to see a commitment, you know, as Steve Frazier does. You know, these wrestlers have put their hearts and souls into the sport, and this means everything tonight for these guys that make the team, and it's special. And the guys that didn't, 4 more years, and they'll get on top.
Thank you, everybody.
Different than Beijing.